This is the gospel according to the IRS, Breaking Points and Church Financial Updates. And now, here's the authority, Dr. Michael Chitwood and Breaking Points.
This is Michael Chitwood. Welcome to Breaking Points. We've been discussing the word inurement, I-N-U-R-E-M-E-N-T. And I've asked you for the last several programs to get your pad and pen ready because inurement is a big problem in all tax-exempt settings. If you're not familiar with the term inurement, you better become familiar with it real quick. Because if you're a church bookkeeper / check writer, and we know many of you are purchasing the Check Writers University course now, and I would strongly recommend, Pastor, that you make or require that your bookkeeper, and some of your board members take this course if they're going to be on the board. One IRS agent stood up to several board members and said, "We don't care what you vote for. Just because you vote for something, board member, doesn't make it right." And of course, we know what most board members know about this subject, and to be quite frank with you, it's not a whole lot. Now, that's not to be disrespectful to board members. I love board members, and for the most part, board members love me, because you would be surprised at the board members that we have saved their personal assets simply because of knowing what to do. Remember, it's not what you know that will hurt you, it's what you don't know. My father always said this. He said, "Don't ever let anybody handle your money who has less money than you do." So the time has come that you, as a pastor, you have to get your house in order. Every area of your house needs to be in order. The spiritual part, I would imagine, is in order. But the legal and financial, if it's not in order, then you're going to have a problem sometime in the future. In fact, they say that 37% of you will have a problem sometime in the near future if you don't get your problems and your compliance fixed. In fact, all of you need a compliance audit. That's what you really need, is a compliance audit. You don't need a certified audit. Jim Baker at PTL had a certified audit every year. Enron had a certified audit. I can think of other corporations that's had a certified audit, and it meant nothing. What you need is a compliance audit. In fact, you know what? You need to write that down. This subject is not the subject we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the 5 ways to test, or the 5 components to test for private inurement in your church. And I'm going to see if you have any private inurement. I'm going to make you take the test respectfully today. When I say make you, you know what I mean. I'm going to encourage you, because this is our ministry, is to make sure that your house of worship's in order. God has called us to save the church today, and to help the church, and to help the pastor. My father's always said, what could be better than taking care of a man of God who's always taking care of so many other people? And I want to read this to you today, because I think you'll find out that it will be very interesting. When we talk about the 5 test method today, there are 5 components, or 5 things that require you to take the test for private inurement in your church. And if you don't know what these 5 things are, then, ladies and gentlemen, you could be in serious trouble today. I want to read these to you if I can. The 5 ways to test for church activities and operational tests for private inurement. That's your subject. Would you please write that down? The 5 ways to test church activities and operations for private inurement. Number 1 is the reasonableness of the matter. What reasonableness does this matter have? I'm talking about the disbursement of the check. I'm talking about the disbursement of the property. It has to be what? Reasonable. So number 1 is reasonable. Number 2, do you have proper documentation? And under that, I'd like for you to put A, I'd like for you to put paper trail, and then B, I'd like for you to put audit trail. They both mean the same thing, but I want you to be aware of these terms. So when you talk to people and they say audit trail, or they say paper trail, you'll know what those terms are. So under documentation, I want you to put A, I want you to put the paper trail or audit trail, and B, put audit trail or paper trail. Number 3, independent arm's length distance. What does that mean? You have to be this far back from a transaction in order for it to be arm's length. If your transactions are not arm's length, I can tell you right now, you're going to have a problem sometime this year. It's not going to wait. You're going to have that problem now. You do know that all it takes for the IRS to audit you is even just an accusation from one of your church members, your board member, your past church secretary. I can think of a national ministry right now that was turned in because of the former bookkeeper. You know, it's amazing. People's always with you as long as everything is going right and they can do what they want to. But just as soon as you discipline somebody or just as soon as you let somebody go, it's amazing how they'll run to the Internal Revenue Service and try to turn you in for doing something wrong when they were a part of it to start with. So my whole point is this. You have to make very sure that you are arm's length between this transaction. The fourth thing is this, outside opinion. Outside opinion. You have to have an outside qualified opinion for that transaction. What outside authority do you have? Our churches that we represent, which is well over 3,600, totally in the program, our churches, when they have a question, they pick up the phone and call us. We're able to give the answer then. Do it, or you should rethink the position. And the fifth thing, does it comply with federal and state law compliance? Remember what I told you at the beginning of the program? You have to make sure that you have a compliance audit. So in all of this, remember, ladies and gentlemen, that wisdom is the principal thing. Wisdom is what you need to have as far as operating your church books. I don't know you, and you don't know me except from our program and our contact at our seminars all across America, but I know this, that we have the same thing in common, and that is that we want your house of worship to be a house that's in total order. It's better to be in order than to be out of order. The Bible says that judgment begins at the house of God. Romans 13:1-6 says, obey all of the laws of the land, render to Caesar that which is Caesar's, and unto man that which is man. So your job is to make sure that you have your house of worship in order. And I believe you, as a man of God, as a woman of God, your primary objective is the spiritual part first, but your second objective is to make sure that your house of worship is a house that's in order. And I can tell you this, God cannot and will not bless a mess. If you have a mess and you're not growing, I have your answer. If you have a mess and you want to change, I have your answer. But in all of this, wisdom is the principal thing. Until tomorrow, I'll see you on Breaking Points.
Breaking Points gives you the latest IRS updates and tax law. Pastor, if the IRS came to your church today, what would you say? If you really want your house of worship in order, call 1-800-345-9117.